Andrew, how are you?
Hey, Gary. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. This just doesn't feel normal to me. This is, I tell you what, if the powers that be wanted to take all the excitement out of signing day, they've been able to do it with this December signing period. I just hope this doesn't stick. This is no fun to me.
Yeah, it seems to be the feeling of a lot of people. It's definitely different. It looks like a lot of kids are signing today. Most of the recruiting classes, really all over the country, are going ahead and signing today. And of course, we've already had a little bit of some news this morning with a few Alabama commitments who were expected to sign today, but now have decided to wait until February. So I'm sure it is. I cannot imagine what it's like over at the Alabama football complex right now with Coach Saban, because I'm sure he's not too thrilled. With some of these kids deciding at the last minute not to go ahead and sign.
All right, Bone, first of all, before we get to the ones that are delaying and obviously causing issues for Alabama, tell us, give us your list of players that you have confirmed have signed with the Crimson Tide at this point on Wednesday.
Well, several have gone ahead and signed. I think, Alabama has a couple guys who are already enrolled, who are already participating in bowl practice. So you have Savion Smith and Jerez Parks. Jerez Parks was a gray shirt, enrolled. It was delayed enrollment for a year, is on board. Both those guys signed early this morning. I believe the very first signature was Skylar DeLong, one of the top punters in the country out of South Carolina, averaged more than 48 yards per punt as a senior in high school. He's going to be huge for Alabama next year. He's going to enroll early, and with J.K. Scott leaving, it's definitely his job to lose. So I think that getting him on campus early is going to be a really big thing for him. Jerome Ford, who we saw commit just a few days ago, running back out of Armwood High School in Sefner, Florida, just outside of Orlando, committed on Sunday, and then was one of the first ones to go ahead and send in his letter of intent. Now we've seen Xavier Williams, the four-star wide receiver out of Hollywood, Florida. He's gone ahead and sent in his letter of intent. Jalen Armour Davis, four-star defensive back out of Mobile. He sent in his letter of intent just about an hour ago. So now they're starting to roll in right now. I think we'll probably see anywhere between, I would say, 14 to 17 guys sign with Alabama today.
The big news this morning on the positive front was the commitment from the big defensive lineman in Pennsylvania, Christian Barmore. Any idea on when he might sign?
Yeah, he's supposed to sign this afternoon. I think he's scheduled to sign around 1 p.m. That's actually what time we were kind of thinking he was going to go ahead and announce his decision. But he actually announced this morning around 6:15 Central. I was actually in my car on my way to get some coffee, and he tweeted out that he had committed to Alabama. That's a huge hit for Alabama. He's a 6'6", 290-pound defensive lineman that Alabama desperately needed. Alabama needed defensive linemen in this recruiting class, and probably I would say about 3 weeks ago, Alabama wasn't really sure regarding his academic standing, but after doing a little bit of digging and kind of looking at things, Alabama felt pretty good about where he stood and where he could get to over the course of the next few months. I don't think they would have taken him if they didn't think that he would qualify. So I feel pretty good about him qualifying, and they got him on board today, which was a huge gift for them. They extended him an offer. I think it was back in early October, and really since they offered him that scholarship in October, they've been very high on him and have recruited him extremely heavy.
Now for the negative, and this is another downside of this signing period. I think you try to get your commitments lined up. You're expecting guys to sign, and then they say they're not. Then you got to try to continue to recruit them for 6 weeks. Probably means they're going to take some visits. I don't know what's going on, but let's run that down. Let's start with Vernon Jackson, the linebacker commitment out of Bowling, Texas, who was thought to be done. Now he up and says that he's not going to sign. And I know Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher maybe making a push, but what's going on there?
Well, I would say probably over the last few weeks, we kind of had a feeling that he was not going to sign. That he had told some people that he was going to take visits in January to Texas and Texas A&M, then take a visit to Alabama, of course, and then really in the last, I would say about 24 hours ago, I was told that he had decided that he was going to go ahead and sign. And I think I started hearing some rumblings about it on Monday. Then it was confirmed yesterday that he was going to go ahead and sign. And I think there was some back and forth going on regarding that. And then he woke up this morning and decided that he just wasn't ready, that he wanted to take those visits in January. Texas A&M, Texas have spent a lot of time recruiting him and really have been pushing hard for him to come on campus for an official visit, and as of right now, that's what he plans on doing. So, Alabama certainly wanted to go ahead and get him on board because now they have two of their top linebackers in their recruiting class waiting until February to sign. So, I think they feel good about both those guys, but at the same time, they're going to take visits, and you've got to wait and see what they end up deciding to do in the end.
And Quay Walker's the other linebacker I assume you're talking about.
Yes.
What do you expect him to wind up doing ultimately?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about where Alabama stands with him right now. But, we know how quickly things change. I mean, a lot has changed in the last 24 hours with certain kids. And, he's going to take his visit in January. I know that Georgia's going to get a visit. Auburn's going to get a visit. He may visit Florida State. But as of right now, Alabama's still in pretty good shape with him. But, you never know until signing day. So, Alabama definitely wanted to go ahead and get those guys on board, but, it just didn't happen on this first one.
Andrew Bone from Rivals.com with us discussing Alabama's football signing class. The early signing period has started today. What's going on with the cornerback Nadab Joseph out of Miami? Alabama worked so hard to secure his commitment. He committed. Word was he was going to try to enroll early. Now he reportedly has not signed yet, may not sign, may not be able to enroll early. What's going on with him, Bone?
Yeah, kind of the biggest surprise of the day so far. I mean, it's still early. It's not even 9:30 yet, but the biggest day so far, biggest surprise so far for Alabama is Nadab Joseph deciding to delay his signature, and it looks like he will not enroll early. Looked like he was going to enroll early, and then all of a sudden, I guess over the last week, been talking to Alabama coaches, decided that he's not going to be able to enroll early, and now all of a sudden he's thinking about some other schools, and we've started to hear maybe Georgia's in the mix all of a sudden. Georgia was in the mix before, but Alabama was really always the favorite since he received the offer from the Tide during the summer. Even though he was committed to LSU for a couple of months after that, everyone always assumed he was going to Alabama, and then eventually he flipped to Alabama. And now it seems like he's not too sure. He's going to kind of take some time, just reevaluate, make sure he's making the right decision. But I think in the end he ends up sticking with Alabama. I think that was kind of his first love, and that's where he wanted to go. And Alabama's not trying to lose him. I mean, they're going to continue to heavily pursue him, and they want him as part of this class. So I think in the end, regardless if it's if he makes a decision today or in February, I think he'll end up getting back on board with Alabama.
Andrew Bone with us discussing this Alabama signing class. It has started today. When does this early signing period wrap up, Bone? Some for Alabama, it's going to wrap up here. Should be completed this afternoon. We're going to see some big guys announced over the course of the next few hours. And we're going to see Brenton Cox announced at 2 p.m. Between Alabama and Georgia. We're going to see Iabi Nova, the five-star defensive end, outside linebacker from Maryland, announce his decision at 1 p.m. I expect Iabi is going to Alabama, and I think Brenton Cox is. It's an interesting situation. I've heard from both sides that both sides feel like it's
probably 50-50 right now. Most recruiting analysts think he's probably leaning towards Georgia, and I think just because he's been to Georgia a bunch and he's an in-state kid. But I think Alabama's strongly in the mix there. I think it could be a very interesting day and definitely a big position of need for Alabama. So if they could get him on board, that would be huge. If Alabama could end up having a day like, getting Barmore and then adding Iabi Anoma and then possibly Brenton Cox. And there's another one that's announcing in the next 30 minutes, Dominic Anderson, the 4-star junior college tight end, supposed to announce around 10 a.m. We'll see what happens there. I think it's pretty close between Alabama and Tennessee. Obviously, a lot of people have felt really good about Alabama for a while, but we've kind of been down this road before with Dominic Anderson in terms of Alabama being the favorite heading into his decision. And then he announced for Texas during the summer, which kind of surprised a lot of people. So we'll see what happens this go around. But Alabama could have a very, very good day despite some hiccups this morning. Yeah,
let me ask you about a few other guys that Alabama's involved with, and you can give us the latest on these players. Let's start with the in-state wide receiver from Central Phoenix City, Justin Ross.
Yeah, still top 3 right now for him with Alabama, Auburn, and Clemson. Going to wait until probably signing day to announce the decision. Hasn't taken any official visits yet, so going to do all that in January, then make a decision. But yeah, it's a pretty close race between those 3 schools right now.
And another wide receiver, a long-time Bama target, long-time thought to be Bama lean, Jalen Waddell from Texas.
Yeah, Jalen Waddell was actually one of those guys who expected to announce the decision today. About a week ago, decided to hold off and sign in February. And right now, I would say it's definitely between Alabama and Texas A&M. Texas A&M has certainly put full court press on him since Jimbo Fisher has taken over as the head coach, and a lot of pressure on him to stay out in Texas. But I think Alabama's still in pretty good shape with him. They visited him a few times this month, and as of right now, they still feel pretty confident in getting his commitment.
Couple of other players that there is some interest in with Alabama from the player, and also Alabama has some interest. I don't know where it stands, but I do want to ask you because I don't know that Alabama will even sign a quarterback in this class, but there seemed to be a lot of interest recently in James Foster, the quarterback out of Montgomery, for Alabama. Any possibility that he could wind up in this class?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. I think after today, Alabama's really going to kind of get back to the drawing board and figure out what they're going to do. And they're going to figure out, who's committed, who's signed after today, and then kind of figure out numbers that, not just at quarterback, but every single position. How many are they going to take it? How many more will they take at receiver? How many more will they take at defensive line or linebacker or defensive back, and then kind of just figure it all out. They could end up taking James Foster. He grew up an Alabama fan, really likes Alabama. He'll take an official visit to Alabama in January. He's been committed a few times. He gave a very early commitment when he was a sophomore to North Carolina. Backed away from that decision. Then committed to Missouri. Has since backed away from that decision. And he got a few schools that he really likes: LSU, Florida State, Alabama. So we'll see what ends up happening there. I think if Alabama really wants him and really decides to push for him, they could get him. But at the same time, Alabama could end up, looking at some other quarterbacks, bringing them in for official visits, or potentially not take a quarterback at all.
What about the offensive lineman? I think he's out of Utah. Penei Sewell.
Penei Sewell decided late last night, which we had heard kind of earlier in the week, that he was going to hold off from making a decision today. That was kind of his plan, was to announce on today, and has decided to hold off. Now, he did release the top 4. He had a top 5, which he eliminated Nevada, but now his top 4, which we kind of expected: Alabama, USC, Oregon, and Utah. Going to wait until February, kind of just clear his head and think about it a little bit more. Now, he's taken all his official visits already. He's had all the head coaches come in for in-home visits. So the only people that can come in now are just assistant coaches. And who knows if he'll end up making any more visits. It's very possible he could take some unofficial visits in January. and then make a decision.
Some targets that went elsewhere. What happened with Andres Fox, the defensive end out of Mobile Christian? It looked as though for a while that he might wind up in Alabama's class. He ultimately committed to Stanford. What happened there?
Well, I think Jeremy Pruitt happened there. I think he had such a strong relationship with Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt recruited him, and then when Jeremy Pruitt accepted the head coaching job at Tennessee, it seemed like Alabama kind of just stopped recruiting him. I don't think they visited him again, and I don't think they even talked to him anymore since that happened. He was scheduled to take an official visit to Alabama a few weekends ago. That visit was canceled, and I think both sides ended up parting ways. I was kind of surprised that it wasn't LSU or Auburn. LSU and Auburn have been very high on his list for a very long time. After I'd kind of heard that Alabama had kind of moved away from him a few weeks ago, I just assumed that it was going to be either LSU or Auburn, and then he ends up signing with Stanford today. So, hey, good for him. He's going to a great program, great school. He's going to get a great education.
And, of course, we talked about him last week, but Seth Williams is set to go ahead at 11:15 today at Bryan High School and sign with Auburn. And I understand that, Alabama just went in a different direction. But if you wind up missing out on Waddell and you wind up missing out on Ross, do you think there'll be some regret there from Alabama for not pushing harder for the local wide receiver from Bryan High School?
There might be, especially if they don't end up getting, some of their key guys at the position, Jalen Waddell, Justin Ross, Jacob Copeland. As we've talked about before, Alabama really kind of going after these speed slot type guys in this year's recruiting class. And they have a couple guys that are on board right now. Xavier Williams, who's probably one of, if not the fastest wide receiver in the country out of South Florida. Slade Bolden, one of those guys who we've discussed is like a Swiss Army knife, can do many different things, plays running back or plays quarterback for his high school football team, and, could play running back, could play wide receiver, could play defensive back. So I think Alabama really likes him a lot. But Jacob Copeland, Jalen Waddell, Justin Ross have really been Alabama's key targets for a very, very long time. And, with those guys, the position they felt like they were in with those guys, they just could not push for anybody else at this time.
Finally, Bone, with only two in-state commitments for Alabama, we mentioned Jalen Armour-Davis went ahead and signed. Let me know exactly what Michael Parker's status is, the tight end from Westminster Christian. Is he going to be a gray shirt, a blue shirt? I know he's committed to Alabama, not going to sign here in the early period. What ultimately winds up happening with him?
No plans yet. I think Alabama's kind of waiting to see what happens with some other guys, especially what happens today with Dominic Anderson and potentially Luke Ford in January. If Alabama ends up not getting Dominic Anderson today, will they press hard for Luke Ford and get him in on an official visit? And there's been times where Luke Ford has named Alabama as his favorite, but I think Alabama has been pressing pretty hard for Dominic Anderson lately, and they're going to see what happens with him today, and then probably make a decision regarding Michael Parker down the road.
All right, what's this been like for you as a recruiting analyst for so many years? We looked at that first Wednesday in February. That's the way it was. A lot of pomp and circumstance. How different has it been this year building up to this early signing period, and how different is it for you today?
It's different. I still woke up very, very early, and I went to bed very late, so that, nothing changed there in terms of a national signing day event for me. I think that, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think one signing day is good enough. Whether it's going to be in December or whether it's going to be, that first Wednesday in February like it's always been. I think there's going to be a lot of negativity about this early signing period that's going to be coming out, especially after today. I think you're going to see a lot of. We've already started seeing a lot of coaches complain about it. I think we'll see a lot more coaches start complaining about it. For years and years and years when it was talked about, I just assumed, hey, whatever, let's have it. It's not going to be that big of an issue, but apparently it is, and it's not really as big of an issue to let's say, a recruiting reporter as it is to a college head coach. So, not really a lot of difference to me, except for, we've got 2 of these events where we're, not getting much sleep the night before and, waking up around 5:30 the day up. So that's really the only difference it is to me for now.
Well, I know you'll be working throughout the day, keeping folks updated with Alabama. Let the listeners know how they can follow you.
We have a great thread going on at BamaInsider.com, as part of the Rivals.com network, keeping everyone up to date on everything that's happening throughout the day on the Alabama football recruiting front. And obviously, people can follow me on my Twitter handle at Andrew J. Bone throughout the entire day.
Thanks, Bone.
All right, thanks, Gary. See ya.